What does a DevOps architect does and how is the life at the ops tree?
As a DevOps architect, we design solutions and implement them that the solution can be implemented from that perspective.
But you also mentioned very interesting point, right? So you have worked across the domain, for
Right.
example, FinTech.
So basically that's true. But the one thing which is going to remain always the core DevOps principle.
Is that the reason why this DevOps term is now also expanded in the security domain called DevSecOps?
In that particular thing, you cannot do let's say a full scale up. You do a full scale up, you will lose on the cost side.
Welcome back to another episode of Techie Talks with Kuldeep. I am your host Kuldeep Singh. We are excited to have Mr. Abhishek Dubey joining us. Abhishek, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kuldeep, for having me here.
Abhishek, before we start our conversation, could you share about your experiences so far in the industry?
Sure. I started my career as a cloud DevOps engineer. I joined Opstree Solution like 10 years back. Then there I started as a cloud trainee. Over the period of time, I got my experience matured, worked in the different domains. So I worked in the FinTech domains. I have worked with the IoT-based systems. Other than that, my recent assignment was with the streaming system, the media streaming platform. And that's a bit about I do with the Opstree as a consulting part. Other than that, I do a lot of community contributions with the Opstree as well. So for example, I'm an open source contributor. Right now, I'm contributing to projects like Kubernetes, Prometheus. Recently, I became a maintainer of Prometheus project as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll do a lot of knowledge transfer sessions and workshops for the people so that I can train them, mentor them, educate them about the new things which is happening in the DevOps realm.
Great. So I know from your title, you are the DevOps architect.
Yes.
So what does a DevOps architect does and how is the life at the ops tree?
So actually, that is a very great question. And that is where exactly it takes our heart, what we do here. So the DevOps architect is more of let's say a multi-hat wearing person at Opstree Solution. It does not get associated with a single thing, but it gets associated with so many things which to bring outcome out of it. So that's one thing. And if I talk about and if I put it in a nutshell, we are a digital transformation architects. We do consulting, we do client discussion. So what exactly we do as a DevOps architect, we discuss with the business people, we discuss how exactly we can do it and what needs to be done. And then as a DevOps architect, we design solutions and implement them that the solution can be implemented from that perspective. So that's the one thing we do. If I talk about the weekly or let's say a daily life at Opstree as a DevOps architect, so it's more of a client discussions. We do a lot of client discussions. Other than client discussions, we are part of, let's say, the brainstorming sessions, designing solutions. Then we are training and mentoring the juniors. Other than code review is also a very important thing we do here as a DevOps architect, so that we make sure the future generation, which is going to be the DevOps architect, they are groomed well. So that's one of the thing. If I do a categorization, it's more of a three things. One is the strategist. We do the strategy planning. Then the next part is the architecture, where we do the actually blueprints and the architecture, how exactly we can implement it. And the third part is the execution part. So sometimes team hit the bottleneck, they need the actual ground support and they need someone who can sit with them, do a pair programming and guide them how exactly it can be done. So it's not only that you will be doing architecture, you will be doing designing. It's more of a thing you are doing designing from a 30K feet view, you are designing the system from the ground as well, and you are comfortable with the hands-on experience as well, so that you can mentor them. So that's a general life at Opstree for a DevOps architect.
But you also mentioned very interesting point, right? So you have worked across the domain, for example, FinTech, media streaming, IoT.
Correct.
How do you balance out these things? Because I'm sure like you are the DevOps expert, but from the legal and the other perspective, these domain changes very quickly, right? So one thing which you might have applied in one pillar might not be applicable for the others, and there might be significant changes as well.
That's true. Yeah, so actually you hit on a spot. So basically that's true. But the one thing which is going to remain always the core DevOps principle. So for example, if I take an analogy and if I have to design a race car, I won't be designing different race cars for the different race tracks. I'll be designing a car and accordingly I will be tuning my engine, suspensions and the transmission so that it can support the different race tracks.
Agree.
So from that perspective, if I come on, so it is, if I'm talking about a FinTech domain-based clients, if I talk about IoT domain-based clients or the streaming domain-based client, the win for them is different. So for example, if I talk about a media streaming, for them, the win is the low latency infrastructure. The users are having a seamless experience. They are not having any issues with the application UI and the performance. So they are able to watch what they want to watch. So that is the win for them. For the IoT base, it's a large network system. So for them, the devices which are connecting to the IoT system, they are connected very easily. They are not having any issues. You are able to do the firmware upgrades very easily. The sensors are working. That is a win for the IoT based clients. And for the FinTech based clients, the trust is the most important thing because people are keeping a very confidential data on their platform. So security is one of the very big win for them. So building a very trustworthy platform is a win for a FinTech based clients. Now, if I talk from that perspective, each client has a different way of implementing things, but the DevOps core principle will always remain same. So that's, I think, one of the things which defines the diversified domain.
So you are saying like the core DevOps principle remains the same.
Exactly.
You set your foundation, and then these are like specific use case,
right?
FinTech, IoT, and the others which you can scale up as.
At some point, some will take more preference. For example, let's take an example of security. For security in the media streaming is that anti-piracy. You are not able to do that. DMR encryptions. These are the important things. But for a FinTech client, security is a very vast term. For them, everything is their security itself. So they will put a lot of keen focus on that area. So the focus can be diversified for each of the areas, but areas are always going to be remaining same.
Is that the reason why this DevOps term is now also expanded in the security domain called DevSecOps?
Yes, that is true. So security earlier were treating as a last class citizen. Now it is a first class citizen. You are shifting left. So it starts where you are actually building the product. And that's where DevSecOps comes into the picture. It actually starts when you are doing coding on your laptop. From the developer's laptop, when the code is going to the CI/CD pipelines, when the code is going to the deployment area, then after that the product is released. Everywhere the security is inculcated into that. And that's where the DevSecOps principle came into the picture.
No, and I think the DevOps is also enabling the business.
Yes.
And one thing which I was very much impressed after seeing, how did you handle or the team handle the 30 million concurrent users? Could you share about that? What were the challenges and how did you overcome over that?
To be honest, Kuldeep, that is a career-defining project which I have done, and we are really proud of that we have done that at a very big stage where whole nation is watching you. So that's one thing. But if I talk from a perspective where the challenges, when the client came to us, it was not only about creating a world record or making that people can watch system on their phone. It was about the user experience. People should be able to watch very seamless because as a human, when the technology is growing, people are restless. When they want to watch something, they want to watch it now without any disruptions and everything.
Exactly.
And the idea was to create a platform, something like that. So major, and if I talk about, we were doing the live cricket match streaming, and we know that cricket is treated as a culture phenomenon in India, and a lot of people are associated with it. So the core problems was the predictive scaling. So for example, when we are working with such platforms, you cannot define a scale.
Agree.
Like for example, if a wicket goes down and a popular cricketer is coming to bat, the traffic will be indefinite spike. So the infrastructure is very spiky. Traffic will be going up, traffic will be coming down. That's one thing. And in that particular thing, you cannot do let's say a full scale up. You do a full scale up, you will lose on the cost side. And that is also a very big challenge. So we have to come out of best of both of us. The performance, resiliency, predictive scaling, security. These were the major challenges we had to solve. And the major challenge we had to solve is that the predictive scaling. How do we solve that problem where the traffic is not defined? So whenever let's say a company, an e-commerce company is putting a sale, they know that how much traffic waste they are expecting. But in a cricket match, you don't know.
Yeah.
So that is one of the bigger challenge we had, and we had a very less time to prepare for that. Like for example, we had like 2 months to prepare so that people can watch the major cricketing stream.
I mean, 2 months might sound very long if I see it, but how much is the overall when you see it like, hey, you need to make it live and the experience should not be impacted? Because even though like right now we are doing this shooting and this is recorded one, if it would have live, it would have created a very different kind of pressure.
That's true. So if I talk from a pressure perspective, it's like a pressure cooker, to be honest. you have like for example, if I talk about the days, you won't get days off and everything, because on you there is a cultural phenomenon dependent of India, and people are watching it, and if you give them the bad experience, people will lose their mind and they won't feel happy. That's
Exactly.
the honestly. So from that perspective, we have a lot of pressures we had to manage. Like for example, we used to have a war rooms. So for example, for each of the day, each of the event, we used to have a war rooms where the vendors, clients, we all are sitting and we are seeing the dashboards. We are monitoring live Twitter feeds. So for example, if someone is reporting this is broken, we have to create the issues out of it. We have to fix it like immediately so that people can watch that. For example, at a particular TV, there is a particular feature which is not working. Now, from that perspective, it is a very single issue and it is impacting a very less portion of users for us, but it's a bigger challenge because we are disrupting a user experience of someone. So from that perspective, it was a very huge pressure. So there was always a live call open. Within the war rooms, there were breakout room. People are doing the brainstorming sessions. How can we solve this particular issue? How can we do this? And in that particular process, we had to implement a lot of practices. So that we won't fail in the main events. So for example, that one piece of code, one wrong configurations in the load balancer, anything which is a slight mistake can impact the millions of users which are watching the platform right now.
Yeah, and that too time sensitive.
Exactly.
Right? Because if it is live and if it is just impacted for 15 minutes, your users are gone. Either they are switching the platform,
exactly,
or either they are going to some other media platform. I mean, this is very good, right, from the business perspective. But being an architect, you would have used certain technologies, certain framework, how you have set up the entire workflow so that it remains smooth, pipeline, etc.
Right.
Would you talk about those tools and technologies which were used in this?
Sure. So basically, there is a Roman saying we followed: prepare for the war in the time of peace. So that's what we followed for this particular event. So one of the very important thing which was the part of the load testing. So let's say we had a user base we want to reach and we are expecting like 50 million user base we can achieve. But the system we were defining that where exactly it can break. So the load testing is the double of the infrastructure.
Okay.
So we were doing the load testing for the 100 million users.
100 million
users. So that we can...
It can handle 50 million.
Exactly. So that is the one part. Second part, which was the very complex part, the infrastructure part. The applications are there, everything is there. Now, before moving to the infrastructure part, I just want to make another thing is that, make sure you have another thing is that the programming language also plays a very important role here. So for example, a lot of applications we developed in the Golang.
Okay.
So it was a gRPC based application so that the streaming connectors are there. We are making sure that we are getting the best out of applications. So we converted our applications to Golang, to be honest. And 90% of the applications were converted to the Golang so that we can match that scale. So that's one thing. Coming to the infrastructure side, once the application is ready, the infrastructure was the part where we have to work. Now, Kubernetes was very obvious choice because
to handle the scale.
To handle the scale, it was scalable very easily. We were platform agnostic. We can run it on any cloud provider. We're not binded to a particular cloud provider. That is one thing. Second thing we chose Kubernetes is the extensibility. We know that the native Kubernetes is not that rigid that it can handle our scale. So extensibility should be there so that we can introduce our tooling, our custom solutions so that we can handle it very well. So that is the reason we chose that Kubernetes could be one of the platform we want to work with. And based on that, we created our own tool. We call it scaling controller. And the scaling controller is it's a Golang based tool. What exactly it does, it predicts your traffic. So for example, whenever there is a wicket, or let's say whenever there is some changes, like let's say a player is about to get 100, based on that it can predict how much traffic it could be there, because there is a complete data pipeline we have and we can analyze over that, and based on that it scales the infrastructure. So that's one thing. Second thing is that we were not following the legacy model of scaling. So for example, step scaling is there. We can do with the horizontal scaling, but we were following a ladder scaling model. Now, ladder scaling is one of the very important concept for us, where we have created the buckets. So we created a buckets, let's say for the 10 million users, this much infrastructure is required. And when we switch to a next ladder, for example, it goes to 11 or 12, we do a preemptive scaling. We know that next ladder is the 15 million ladder. So when the traffic is reaching around 12 or 13, we were reaching the traffic to the 15 million. So that we have a buffer space, and if someone is coming to the traffic system and the traffic is increasing, we still have some breathing space, but that we can go to the next level.
And so that you can also prepare. For example, it is not something, hey, because when the user is coming, you don't know, and okay, so this is now you are preparing it for 15,
exactly,
20, 25. Like
exactly, because the problem with the Kubernetes is that when you scale up your applications, the downstream infrastructure scaling will take time. For example, you scale your pods, the nodes will take time. And once the nodes is ready, then the pods will come into the healthy state. In our case, it was more of a thing where we have to handle that what needs to be scaled. So for example, before scaling the pods, we scale the infrastructure first, then we scale the pods. Other than that, we see that the users are connecting, and when we are putting data into the Kafka, we have to scale Kafka as well. So it was not only handling the stateless application flow, it was handling a stateful application flow as well. We were able to scale the queuing system, search system, databases using this platform. It took a very decent amount of time to build this, but now it is one of the very core and backbone part of the solution. So that's the narrative out of it. Other than that, monitoring is one of the very core challenge, and since we were creating that much level of infrastructure, we had a lot of metrics also to monitor. Now initially we started with Prometheus, but it did not work out for us. The reason being that Prometheus was working in the standalone model, and we had a lot of metrics. We cannot handle it over a single point of view. So from that perspective, we took an architectural decision that we will switch to Victoria metrics. And we switched to the Victoria metrics, which is based out of Prometheus, but what it adds, that you can scale your metrics monitoring system horizontally. You can have sharding, replication in your metric system as well. And we were able to handle 800 billion metrics in a month using that system. So our metrics monitoring was very intact. We created a complete workflows where people are coming to the system, and if something is going wrong, it will automatically create a Jira Live incident. It will automatically create a PagerDuty incident. Then there will be a Slack channel open, automatically create a Zoom bridge so that people can join. So the complete process was automated so that we don't lose out on the people. And so that's one thing. Let's say once that issue is identified, what best practices we were following, we were doing a lot of postmortems and RCA. So we categorize the issues in P3, P2 and P0. Sorry, P2, P1 and P0. And the P3 issues is very low, that we can put a simple RCA and we can close it. P2 is something we do a weekly sync. At every week, you need to present the RCAs for all the P2 issues. And for the P0 issues, we have to present it in the 24 hours. So that's how we establish the engineering practices to make it successful.
So it is not only a single critical decision, but I would say like the multiple critical decisions which you have taken. And one interesting thing which you have mentioned is like, hey, leveraging the open source technologies which are available, but when they are not fitting, or you are not able to right fit into your infrastructure or the solutioning, because that the developer might have developed
Right.
it thinking that it will solve the problem, but he might not have think that how
Correct.
the people will use.
Right.
Is there something advice on the open source contribution as well? Because I see you have also contributed a lot in the open source, specifically very renowned name, for example, like Prometheus, etc. But you have built something which is also useful for the community.
Yes. So coming out on that, so what I believe is that open source is giving so much to us. Let's say they have given a very beautiful projects like Kubernetes, Prometheus, and Open Telemetry, so on. List is very long. Now, one thing we should always follow as a human and as a technology professional is that it's not about taking from the society. It's also about to giving back to the society. So that's where open source come into the place. From being a consumer to become a co-contributor, that is where I see that the real beauty and the real art is. So if I coming onto that side, open source is very much important for me, and I encourage everyone so that they should pick a project and they should start working on it. They should contribute to that project. If I talk about the Prometheus project, I started contributing to that project in 2021, and it took me like 4 years from becoming an individual contributor to be a co-contributor. And it's not only about getting a name on the GitHub, it's about creating a community impact. You will be part of different knowledge sharing sessions. You will be part of the design discussions. You will be part of different Slack channels and Discord channels where you are educating others so that they can also become a contributor. So that's the real beauty out of open source. And I think it will increase your issues, problem solving issues. So for example, if you're coming to that product really close, you can think from a perspective, now you were a consumer, now you can see that what are the bottlenecks and how exactly I can fix it. And from that perspective, you can contribute to that project.
No, and this is very much visible also, right? For example, you find it out, hey, that the scaling we can handle, but the metrics which we need is we are not able to handle. And then you moved from Prometheus to Victoria based, and I'm sure some work which you might have done also in the Kubernetes Kubernetes space as well. So you took certain thing in the open source, and this is how you increase your learning by contributing more, and now you know exactly where are the bottlenecks also. That is true. So one thing is that you can contribute to the same project. One thing is that the open source is there, you can fork that project and you can build something out of it. So there are different ways of contributing to open source project. One is that you can contribute to existing projects, or let's say if you see a problem and you see there is no such solution exist in the market, I think that there's your chance, and there you should take your chance and start building it. I would like to talk an example here. So I started a project called Redis Operator in 2019. I was the sole contributor. I actually evaluated different solutions, but no solution was that much compact and concise that it was solving all the Redis issues. So that's the Redis Operator on Kubernetes. Separate.
So that's what hit me, and I decided let's write our own operator. I started as an individual contributor, and today I have more than 70 contributors in that project. Now I only do code review and everything. I'm not doing development in that project, but that's the beauty out of it, that we have created something and now people are using it. So that's the real beauty of open source.
No, and I think what you also mentioned is like, becoming a consumer to becoming more kind of the
co-contributor,
contributing around it. And I'm very much excited to see your journey, to see your experience, and I'm assuming the DevOps area will continue to grow as more and more new apps, whether it is the AI generated apps or the usually the business will be growing from analog to digital. The scale is going to grow. So question is, how can someone who is just wanted to enter in this field get started, and some piece of advice which you can give based on your decades over experience?
So what I did, I followed two principles. One is the horizontal principle, one is the vertical principle. So horizontal principle is where you learn so many things, but you don't get into the depth of it. But you have to follow it. The vertical and horizontally should go in parallel. So for example, when you are increasing your horizontal criteria. For example, you started learning Kubernetes and you're not going into the depth of it. You are switching to a new technology. That's where you will lose out a very big chance of becoming a very good engineer. So my piece of advice is, for example, whenever you are starting to learn something, take it from a heart, take it from a depth, and try to learn and explore the things. What are the things you can uncover out of it? And not only that, try to become a thinker. So for example, when we start our journey, we do as a doer, we do executions, we do everything. But when you are aligned with your mentors, you should learn from them how exactly they are thinking, how they are approaching the problems. That's where you can become a DevOps architect, and that will redefine your complete career space.
Yeah. And also the continuous learning also.
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't mean that, hey, you might be knowing, hey, I know now each and everything.
Right.
But technology also keep on changing very quickly.
I recommend books reading, and blog is one of the very good thing. I actually write my own blogs as well, but I encourage people, when they are learning something, they should write about it. But because when they are writing about it, they are going more in depth out of it. So the continuous learning from the books, from the blogs, from the community, and from the public workshops, that really helps in becoming a very good engineer.
Yeah. And also I have seen like you have also multiple certifications as well. Do you see also value of this, and how the people can start the certification journey as well?
So initially I would suggest that for the certification, they should not take any paid plans. So the community is very generous. People have created their own learning materials and made it publicly available so that they can learn it by themselves and they can appear for the certification exams. For example, on the GitHub, on the Medium, there is a lot of learning material available and people can use it. So that is one idea. Second thing is that, yeah, certification plays a very important role for your career as well, and for, let's say, for your organization as well. For example, coming from a consulting company, if you have certification, it takes you to the next level of the partnership with the providers. For example, if I take example of AWS, you should have some certification in your organization so that your organization can also become a certified from the cloud provider. So that is one thing. But again, with that, you get a chance to learn about the technology more. For example, if I talk about Kubernetes certifications, they are very good. The idea is that they are not about MCQ based. You have to do a real hands-on, you have to do a real implementation. And it's not like that you cannot take help. They have provided you the support of documentation. And actually, I think that is a very great idea. What people do when they are approaching a problem, they go to the internet and they try to solve it using Stack Overflow and everything. They don't get into the depth of problem from the documentation. Everything is available on the documentation side. You just have to read it. And I think from that certification, I get that glimpse that documentation is a very good place to learn from. So I really encourage people to go for these certification exams.
Yeah. And I think now with the help of the generative AI, people can ask the question and learn more about it.
They can actually compare different solutions as well. I think that will be a really great idea. So sticking upon a single solution, they can really ask questions like, if you are suggesting me, why are exactly you are suggesting me? Why not the other way? And I think if people are learning from that perspective, that will give a better horizon that what are the other options available and why I stuck upon this.
So thanks Abhishek for sharing your knowledge, and thanks also for sharing the 30 million story. Maybe I was also one who has watched, and my experience was very good because of you. So thanks a lot for your contribution. And thanks a lot for this insightful talk.
Thank you so much, Kuldeep. Pleasure all mine. And thank you so much for having me.
That's it for this episode of Techie Talks with Kuldeep. Until next time, keep learning and keep innovating. Thank you for watching.